webinars. My name is Joy Wimu. I'm the 3MTT Community Manager for River State, and I'll be your host for today. Today, we're going to be looking at the topic leveraging community for career growth and development. This is a very interesting topic and one that I am particularly interested in because being a member of communities, being actively participating in various communities has, shaped my career growth, has contributed immensely to, climbing the professional ladder for me. And I'm really excited to be hosting today's webinar as we're going to be delving more into this topic. With me here is God's Power, Mr. God's Power. He is the founder of AfriSplash Remotely and a program tech product manager at Clear Global. He's a remote work leader and DEI advocate, building the gateway to Africa's remote workforce by harnessing the power of community and technology to promote African talent on the global stage. God's Power is also currently driving technological initiatives to champion language inclusion for all through language technology and AI as a program tech product manager at Clear Global. I'm going to open the floor up to Gospel to say hi to our attendees, to all our listeners out there. Hello, Gospel.
Hi, John. Thanks for that introduction. Just as you said, my name is Gospel Sirugo, the founder of AfriSplash Remotely and a program tech PM at Clear Global, focused on AI solutions for social impact and, of course, language inclusion. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you for that introduction, Gaspar. So to all our listeners, to everyone listening, our fellows, our learning community members, feel free to rep your community in the chat section. Just comment your name. For example, Joy from 3NTT River State community or whatever tech community you belong to, feel free to rep that in the chat section, and we'll be going straight into the presentation for today. Over to you, Mr. Gaspar.
Thank you so much, Joy. So I'll just quickly share my screen. I believe everyone should be able to see me soon. Let me know if you can see me and you can see my screen. All right. So today we are going to be talking about something really interesting, as Joy said, which is leveraging community for career growth and development. And I think this is a very exciting topic when you think about community as a whole. One of the first things I would say is that communities are a very interesting way for us to actually grow, to actually support each and everyone we have within our ecosystem, and of course, inspire people to be great, to actually achieve their career goals in a way that we wouldn't be able to achieve as individuals. So basically, the terminology "no one is an island" is always coming back to the point that if you want to grow, you have to move with people who have the same vision, who have the same goals and aim as you as a professional. And that's one of the reasons we have this amazing community of the 3MTT, leveraging community for career growth and development. Now, one of the first things I want people to understand is career growth, what it entails. I think this is a really exciting terminology, and it can mean several things to several persons. And for me, I see career growth as a ladder. And as a ladder, it's not technically a linear journey. It's something you can actually climb, definitely, but go into a direction of this is where I want to be as a career professional takes a lot of things, and that takes different experiences. And so for me, I would say career growth is not just a linear path. It's a journey for you that can be marked by continuous learning, continuous improvement, and continuous development. For example, in most cases of some of the, top CEOs you see out there from big techs and other companies out there, you see that they have moved from several roles and they have actually grown and honed their skills across various areas and then perfected themselves and made themselves an expert. So career growth means going from one end to another, learning, improving. And so what is community-led career growth? We're actually talking about leveraging community for career growth and development. So what is community-led career growth? This is basically a way for you to advance your own professional career and, of course, create an amazing journey for yourself through the support and participation of community. You're participating in community, you're actually getting the support of community. And this is basically something that is relatable when you are part of a community like the 3MTT, because then you find like-minded individuals with the same goals and objectives as you are. You find mentors, you find career professionals who understand how to guide you. So they show you a lot of things you don't find in the book. And the reason being is that they have actually walked through the path you intend to take, and you don't have to make the same mistakes they have made in their career as well. And that's why community is really important. And to successfully embrace, community-led career growth, it's very important to actually understand where you stand. And by that, I mean, it's very important to access your current skills. Okay, I want to join a community. I want to actually get to this point as a career professional. You need to access your current skill. Where am I at the moment? And what do I need to do within the community to get to the point I want to be? And that's really important, because if you don't understand that, then you probably would be doing the wrong things, which we're going to talk about very soon. And also, you need to recognize your areas for improvement and enhancement, skill enhancement. Being part of community also means you need to keep learning. That's why I talked about continuous learning, continuous development. You need to understand what are the gaps within my skill sets and how can I fill those gaps, and who can actually help me, close those gaps. That's really important as well. You also need to understand industry trends and, emerging technologies. And there's no better place to actually do that than the 3MTT. And that's because you are actually hearing about new information, new policies, new technologies from peers, from industry leaders, and you're on top of the game basically because you understand how best to harness this knowledge to learn. For example, we have AI. AI is basically a trend, an industry trend. Everyone is speaking about AI. And how can you learn how to apply artificial intelligence in your role as a professional? It's through community. You want to learn from people who are in that space already. You want to harness the knowledge they have, and then build a career roadmap for yourself gradually to get to the point where you want to be. Also, you get to seek feedback from mentors. I think this is really important. Community gives you access to industry leaders and professionals. I'm sure you have had so many persons talk about so many interesting topics, and that's one of the benefits of community. And you want to use that insight, you want to use that knowledge to actually get yourself to the next level as well. And finally, utilizing community resources for insights, for guidance. This is really important for anyone who wants to actually get themselves from 0 to 1, because once you have the right resource, it points you in the right direction and it makes growth a lot more easier. And so understanding and finding the gap is really important to community-led growth. The next thing I'm going to speak about is basically setting the tone for success through community engagement. Now that you have understood the gaps, basically you understand your needs as a professional. What do I need to scale, and what within the community would be really beneficial to me to actually close that gap? You want to understand how you can set yourself up for success as well, because within the community, you have so many persons, so many resources. The reality is that you can't consume every material, every resource is being provided within the community. We have tons of resources out there, and some might not be relevant to you. Some might be relevant to product managers, some might be relevant to engineers, some might be relevant to data analysts, marketing managers, and more. You want to actually understand what content is specific to my need. And to do that, you have to set yourself up for success by community engagement. So we have 3 types of community members. The first one is the dormant one. Basically, we all know these things, but then we fall into the trap of being dormant at some point in the community by just locking without active participation. And this is basically one of the pitfalls we should avoid when being part of the community. You don't want to observe discussions without actually contributing to those discussions, no matter how small it is, because no contribution is actually useless within the community. Every contribution is actually helping someone, is actually helping you as well learn more. You don't want to be barely engaged or really engaged with community members. So you have a community to actually build a network. You want to actually be part of events like this. You want to learn. And so it's very important to actually engage with community members as well. But if you are not doing that, then obviously you are on the dormant side of things. And finally, having minimal presence and visibility within the community. So most persons say within the community, I'm able to get referral. How would you get referral with the low visibility? It's almost impossible to get that from industry leaders. So one thing you need to understand about being in the community is putting yourself out there. It might seem tough, but as we go along the line, I'm going to show you how you can do that effectively and easily. Also, we have the passive community members. They're actually reading through, but then they're not contributing. And this is also something that's easy to actually affect lots of persons from getting the best value from community. So it's very important not to fall into this. And some of the, I would say, characteristics of a passive member is basically you're consuming content without actually contributing. If you see yourself reading a lot and you're not actually trying to discuss those things you are reading, then you have basically put yourself in a silo. That's what it's called. You are basically singling yourself out, and you are not open to new ideas. You're not open to interpretations of the content you are reading. And so once you are able to actually contribute to content, it helps you get access to people with even superior knowledge, who helps you broaden your horizon and understand several things about technology, several things about processes, about how to actually get even a better career. So it's important to attend events. It's important to actually not have a limited involvement with community initiatives and projects, because that's how you learn. Finally, we have the ideal member for every community person who looks for career growth and development. You want to be active. People say this is pretty straightforward. I can be active, but what do you need to do? Active participation goes beyond just coming online. It's basically saying, can I share with the community? One way to grow is by sharing. And because then you share resources, you share articles, you share insights. And to share all of these things, you need to do the research. You need to understand how to come across these articles, how to come across these insights. And when you are actually researching for new information, valuable information, unconsciously as well, you're actually growing because you're consuming new information that shapes your perspective of things within the tech space or even outside the tech space as well. And so you also want to attend and participate in events and learn. So events beyond the webinars, for example, you have open source contributions, you have conferences, you have hackathons, you have protothons. You want to be part of those. You want to actually upskill by participating and gaining new skills through the community. And finally, engaging in discussions. So people are asking questions, you have the answer. You don't want to keep those answers. You want to actually share. You want to ask questions yourself as well if you need clarity in any way. And you want to seek advice from your peers. Your peers can be someone who is a line manager, and you as an individual contributor, you want to move from being an individual contributor to a managerial role. Ask questions, and then you will get the help. And most times we see it as, oh, it feels like I don't know anything when I'm asking questions. But asking questions is actually a sign of strength, because you're willing to acknowledge that, of course, I need help in this space, and I'm definitely willing to do the work and get the help. And so it's very important to ask questions, to be active. And so we are going to dive into a quick kind of walkthrough of how to thrive as a professional through community. And this is something we would know, but this is something that's really important to kind of share with everyone as well. One of the first things to do when joining the community is setting personal goals. I know you would say, okay, I'm just going to join the community, I'm just going to join events. But what do you intend to achieve from these events you're actually joining? What do you intend to know? That would shape how you approach, for example, joining events, the notes you take. Do you prioritize every event, or do you prioritize specific events? Do you join all these events, and do you get information, insights from all of them? It depends. What works for you would be based on your personal goal. So I want to be a developer. I want to prioritize events around, for example, technical frameworks, events around speaking with senior developers, for instance. That's the focus for me. And that's because I have clear goals in the next few months, for instance. I want to get into this space. And the next thing is also putting in the work. By putting in the work, I mean, you want to be able to engage in skill building. So being in the community is not just enough. Being in the community and doing your own research, involve yourself in training sessions, collaborative projects, for example, open source projects, is really key to actually upskilling. So for most persons without professional experience, working experience, a community offers a way for you to build real world experience through this project. You have to build case studies, you have to build projects which you can actually present. And this shows every hiring manager, this shows every organization that this person has gotten the necessary experience within the setup to actually get them into entry-level roles. For a person who is already working, of course, definitely within IC capacity or managerial capacity, you want to be involved in this event to even as a judge, as a technical contributor as well, to show that you have a continuous learning approach or a continuous learning mindset to actually upskill and go forward to get even better positions within the organization. Now, the final, the last but not the least is basically gaining support and thriving as a professional. So when you put in the work, it's one of the easiest ways to actually gain support from industry leaders. It's very easy to actually gain support from professionals who are in the position to support you grow. So most times we reach out to industry leaders and say, I need help with this, I need help with that. And then we notice that most times they are willing to help us. Why? It's because we have done the work. It's because we have actually met them halfway. You want to meet this person halfway, convince this person that you are worth an investment in terms of, I've done the work, I've done my research, and I want you to actually meet me halfway and show me what I'm lacking. So when you go empty-handed in that case, I wouldn't think, for example, that you would be someone who would go above and beyond to see yourself succeed. So it's really important to actually do some work, no matter how small the research is, and then present it when you pitch an industry leader or someone to say, hey, I need help with this. This gives you an added advantage. They are willing to block their calendars. They're willing to take out time and guide you because they know that they just need to put you on the road to success, and then you actually go do a lot of the work and see yourself succeed. And so this is a way to thrive because you then learn more. And of course, you can now share your experience with the community. This is really important because, like I said earlier on, one way to actually improve is by sharing knowledge and to grow into that leadership position, to grow into that individual contributor position. It's beyond just content creation. It's all about engaging with community. It's all about helping people get better. It's all about getting solutions out there through contributions, like I've said previously. And this is really important. So how can I set personal goals? I think this is really important. You want to define clear career objectives for yourself. Depending on what stage you are as a professional, for example, I want to have clear goals that align with my aspirations. I want to break down these goals into actionable steps. Now, people think about goals in huge chunks. So it's very important to break them down because then you want to crawl before you walk, before you run, and then you fly. And so setting goals at the stage of basically flying is going to be something that would discourage you. Thinking about in the next 3-6 months, I want to become a full stack developer when you need to focus on mastering, for example, specific skills. So set actionable SMART goals for yourself as well through steps that are achievable and watch yourself grow. Like I said, it's a process, it's a journey. And so take it that way over time and you see yourself actually grow. And then you want to incorporate community involvement into your goal setting process. What communities do I need? What events do I need? Prioritize all of them, bookmark each and every one of those events that are relevant to you, and make sure you attend those events. Make sure you're participating. Make sure you are seen, you are visible. This gives you an edge, for example, when it comes to referrals, when it comes to getting mentorship support, because they have seen you actively being involved in community as well. And also we have establishing measures, measurable milestones, and tracking your progress. So you want to also understand these steps you have taken, how far have they helped you come? So I don't understand, for example, how to develop a website as a beginner. By joining the community, have I gotten an understanding of how to, for example, handle technological tools, how to handle Git, for instance, how to manage code repositories, all of those things, gradual process. You go into actual learning the programming languages you need for the specific role you are looking for. I want to go into a junior role. What skills are really important? Have I picked up those skills? You want to measure your impact against these milestones, for example, and how closer you are getting to your goal of becoming a full stack developer, for instance, a backend developer, a front-end developer. You want to actually take those steps and measure your progress against those steps. And finally, you want to adapt your goals based on feedback. So I think it's really important to understand that when deciding on what to learn, you need to be in touch with community. see what the industry trends are, see what programming languages are actually really relevant for you. For example, we have a practice right now of React.js for front end. A lot of developers understand how to use such programming language. Marketing, for example, you have SEO. You want to look at those skills, those technical skills that are really important for the role you are looking to break into. Or, for example, I want to grow into a product marketing manager. You want to understand how to hone your skill as a storyteller as well, beyond just the SEO, beyond just the social media marketing management, and all of those storytelling, brand positioning. You want to understand those concepts and how it can help you get into that position. So learn the relevant skills for the relevant goals you are looking to achieve. And so build these objectives around community as well. So there are several ways: building a diverse network, participating in community events, seeking mentorship, sharing knowledge as well, collaborating amongst initiatives and projects. These are ways to actually build yourself, set these goals. And also putting in the work entails all of these things. So for example, I want to create content. I don't want to be an influencer. I want to be a thought leader, in the sense of I want to do my research. I want to get technical intensity. So technical intensity is basically understanding what you need to actually create value. So I wouldn't want to write a blog without understanding the concept. So the first thing I need to do before thinking about writing a newsletter or a blog is learning about the concept. And that puts me in a position to actually talk about my learning. So don't just write because you need to write. Write because you have learned and you want to share your learning. And this is the best way to actually avoid the pitfall of trying to create value and then seeming like an influencer and not an actual technical intensified professional. And so it's very important to learn. If I'm going to create a podcast, for instance, a vlog, whatever thing I want to create to deliver value, I need to learn those stuff, learn those skills before I get to talk about those things as a value delivering medium for the community as well. This is really important. Of course, we also think about getting support from the community as well. So while I'm sharing content, I'm answering questions based on my knowledge I've gained by learning, it's also really important to understand that the community is here to support me. And how can I do that? Through reward experience. I always hit on open source because it's really, really one of the pillars of the ecosystem in terms of gaining knowledge, gaining experience. So getting into a new role, you don't have an experience, contribute to open source. Already in a role, you want to actually skill, contribute to open source. You can manage teams of open source projects and then gain managerial experience to actually propel you into that role where you lead as a manager. It helps you build leadership capability as well. And so that's really important. Beyond open source, you still have personal projects, you still have volunteering as well, really important. Also, the community can support you through resume reviews, portfolio support as well. You have lots of people who can look at your resume and tell you in the first 30 seconds what you have wrong on your resume. And that's really important. You want to reach out to the community and say, I've built experience, I've learned, I've contributed to so many things. Right now, I'm building my resume. Right now, I'm building my portfolio. What do I need to do to actually get my foot in the door to this organization as a junior or to actually scale as a senior in my role? You want to share your resume to a mid-level person if you are a junior or a senior. As a senior professional, you want to share your resume with leaders, basically C-suites, basically group PMs, for instance, in a scenario, to actually review your resume and tell you what are the key ingredients you need to actually get your foot in the door to get to the next phase of your career growth. And this is really important because they are able to spot in seconds the things you need. The next thing is, I'm done with this resume reviews. How can I network with the right persons? And to network, like I said earlier on, you need to meet people halfway there. You don't expect someone to take on your career responsibility, the growth of your career as their own responsibility. You want to do the work and show them that you are worth that time spent in actually helping you scale. And this is really important when networking, because then you get anyone and everyone helping you, supporting you, because you are showing, number one, intention. You are actually taking the initiative to say, I want this growth and I'm chasing it and I'm doing the research and I'm doing my homework to actually get to where I want to be. And all they have to do is come in, support you, champion you as well, and speak of your name in places where you would probably not have the access to as well. So it's really important to actually show working when it comes to networking. And also they can help you with interview preps. How can you prepare for these opportunities when they arise as a result of networking? You want to be able to get community leaders to actually walk you through the process of pitching your value. Most times we find it really hard to speak about ourselves, but it's really important to think about it as a training exercise. How do I introduce myself to show my value? How do I present my experiences in a way that someone can see the achievements? Now, there's this pitfall of going there and calling out your day-to-day tasks from your resume. People do that during interviews. Now, a proper interview is an achievement-based conversation. How can you help this organization achieve the organizational goal? You are basically pitching yourself as the right fit, the right person to actually slot into that space within the puzzle of the organization to deliver value. And you want to show that, yes, I have the necessary skills and experience to actually deliver that value. And as you go delivering value, you meet problems. You also want industry leaders who are willing to mentor you, who are willing to guide you, people who have gone through technical issues, who have solved technical issues, are able to help you resolve such issues as you work day to day on the job as well. And so you want to build that relationship, not just because of interviews or because of gaining experience, but for long-term professional relationships. It's really important to build a network around industry leaders and professionals who can support you as well, and who can give you referrals to opportunities, who can point you out to job opportunities. The community, you have so many platforms dedicated to jobs, right? You want to be on such communities because then they can help you get to the point you want to be. Also, once you are able to do all of these things, you now get into a specific role because number one, you've understood the gap, what you needed. You have put in the work to actually gain those skills. You have shown that, yes, I'm worth investing into. And you have had this industry leaders actually get you from 0 to 1 or get you from 1 to the next phase you should be in your career. You now want to get opportunities. You have had interview preps. You have gotten opportunities. You're now working in such capacity. You want to give back to community. Now, this is a way to build your experience. This is a way to also build your leadership capabilities as well and get to even greater heights. So once, for example, you are able to scale, get the necessary skills, get opportunities, you don't just go dormant. From active, you go back to passive or dormant. That's not how community works. You have to build around community, and that means also helping others who are coming to actually scale. So I myself as a professional, I can remember clearly when I was actually reaching out to persons and saying, hey, I'm joining this community. I need help with this and that. And I was able to put in the work and I was able to get support from lots of industry leaders working in even big tech. And then now I'm actually giving back to community as well, not just as a way to help other people upskill, but as a way for me to actually learn more. Because before I come to speak with you, I have to do research. I have to understand even more concepts. Before I share knowledge, before I answer questions, I need to be sure I'm giving the right relevant answers, especially in tech, because we are in ever-changing field, things are actually evolving. So giving back to the community means sharing what you have learned and have experienced over time as a professional. Like I said, this is a journey and you need to enjoy the process. You need to trust the process and you need to take it step by step to actually get there. So it was just a few years ago, I've walked the process and I'm still working the process because it's a journey for me as well. And I'm sharing experience with others. And that's part of the journey to actually get into better opportunities, to actually help others get to where they want to be as well. So you basically help people avoid failure because number one, as someone who has been part of community, you would definitely have experienced some challenges, and then you would help those people avoid those pitfalls. And so you would also help them become better, and the community grows through itself, nurturing itself, thriving as a community of professionals. So this is really important. You want to mentor others as well who have, that enthusiasm about being part of the industry as well and starting their own careers. And how do you do this? You want to write. It's very important to write really interesting materials about some of the things you have seen, the problems you have faced. Most times we see that once we need to solve a problem, we go back to the internet. And then you might find someone Medium's article, someone's LinkedIn article about the problem you are experiencing, and it helps them solve the problem. That's community. You want to answer questions within channels we have. For example, if there are Slack channels, Telegram channels for the 3MTT, you don't want to be passive or dormant. You want to be active. You want to help where you can, because that gives you more perspective when you go through others' answers. when you review your answers and you see how things have improved, you want to be able to even add more perspective to those questions as well. You want to offer guidance to persons. So for example, as part of a community, if you are able to get a role, you want to be able to help others avoid those pitfalls that get them to actually receive rejections during interviews. And that's guidance, mentorship, how to solve technical problems. That's guidance. You also want to volunteer. You want to go beyond just being a community member, even if it's an active one, to being a volunteer. How can you lead the community as well in sections? Can I lead as an event person? Can I lead as partnership? If I'm looking to actually grow in my role as a partnership manager, can I lead in a technical perspective if I'm looking to become, for example, an engineering manager, managing engineers? You want to actually lead technical teams within communities through open source projects and gain the experience managing a team. And that is also really valuable for you when you are going for interviews for senior roles or you're getting promotion to the next phase in your career as well. So in a nutshell, I think this is really important when we think about community. There are several stages to it, but the first thing is understanding the gap. What skills do I lack? What do I need? Creating your objectives and goals and aligning them to the community you are within. That helps you get the most from the community as well. Beyond that, you also want to do the work. You want to do research. You want to be part of the community. You don't want to be, dormant. You don't want to be passive. You want to reach out for support. Now, everyone needs help, irrespective of where we're at within our career. Even the C-suites actually reach out to certain consultants for help. So we all need help. Don't feel shy to ask for help whenever you need it, because that's the reality in a never-changing space like tech. You need to get that support. Then you need to give back to community as well. And so these are the things you need to do to actually leverage the community to grow and to develop yourself as a career professional. So with this, I would open up the floor to questions and I'll pass it over to Joy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that. Was something I'll say. Listening to you talk about, how we can effectively leverage community for career growth and development, taking us through the different types of community members. I mean, we have now today, and I believe they should rep your category. If you're an active, if you're a dormant or a passive community member, you know yourself, right? And I hope you've learned something from the presentation today. You've taken us through, various levels of community members, how to leverage, set our personal goals, leverage community for our growth, and even down to how to give back to the community. It has been such an enlightening session listening to you today. At this point, to all our attendees, to all our fellow learning community members, if you have any question, feel free to drop that in the chat section. We'll be looking out for your questions to and directing them at our speaker today, Mr. Gosper, who would answer that. But before then, I'd like you to touch a little bit on this. For example, now this question it's more or less from like my experience managing communities, and also being on both sides of the table, like being a community member and being a community manager, right? So, for example, there are people who would come into a community, and then maybe in initial stages, and then people are trying to like about their portfolio, talk about their background and all that. And then there are people, shy. They might be okay. I feel like, they're not even half the level of these people they're in the same communities with. So potential barriers or hesitations they might face when trying to engage in a new community.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure it's from my end, but there was a little break in the question as well. But I did hear your section about the potential barriers when trying to engage in community. Was that right? What were the potential barriers?
Yes. That's right.
If you could drop that on the chat so that I basically give the right answer to that question, that would be really amazing as well. But in regards to the barriers, I don't know if you can hear me clearly. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, yes, I can.
Okay. In regards to the potential barriers when people are trying to engage in community, I think most of these are basically within our mind in reality, because then we are thinking about what would people think about my questions. I'm waiting for others to basically lead. I'm waiting for others to actually take, basically give you direction before I do something when it regards to community, of course. And so there are so many things that people will think about that would hinder them from being part of the community at the level in which they would want to be. But that's not the reality in most cases, because then with the community, it basically means you have access to several things. You have access to resources, and you want to be able to put yourself in a position where you can make something happen with what you have. And so one of the things you see within community, for example, is the presence of book clubs, for example. Um, I want to actually lead community engagement. And how can I do that? Is by understanding that the community is broken down into several aspects. So community might come with several groups of persons, like technical persons, non-technical persons. How can I deliver value to those persons? And there are several ways to do that: through events, through webinars, through the book clubs, where we have readings about specific things and we share knowledge about these things. For example, once in a week, that helps you gain so much more knowledge about a community. And so you don't need to wait before you actually form a book club, for instance. You only need to actually reach out to the community manager and say, hey, I'm interested in having such group. And then with the authority they have, they make this possible for you by, for example, creating dedicated channels and, of course, allowing you to form these groups of people who are interested in specific technical aspects. So, for example, you have a book club for a team of front-end engineers where we discuss new frameworks, where we discuss about specific programming languages that are really important to us. You have for marketing where we discuss topics like search engine optimization, where we discuss paid ads and all those things, email marketing. So there's so many things you can do within community. It's basically identifying the gap, what's needed. So at this point, do we think we need more upskilling? Can we get the admin to basically invite more speakers about a specific topic? So most times the admin will send out a poll. Is someone actually responding to that poll? You can respond to that poll and say, this is where I think we need insights. And that way you are giving feedback to the community to help the community become better for you, of course. And this is, of course, one of the numerous ways to actually get involved in community as well. And you don't have any barrier to actually getting involved. Does this answer the question?
Just thank you for that.
All right.
Just get that um, it's about um, networking fatigue and hope you have. Am I able to hear me?
Unfortunately, I am not hearing you so well. It's breaking.
Hello.
Can you still hear me? I think there's a drop off from Joy. So yeah, probably I'll just go ahead to share a few things before we have Joy come back as well.
Hi, can you
Oh, he's
hear me
back
now?
again.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Okay, so sorry about that. Little trouble with
No,
my
no worries.
internet. Um, yeah, so I was just talking about I said there's this concept that people refer to as networking fatigue, and
Okay.
is very common with our introverted brethren. Yeah. And some people would say, as much as we're trying to, encourage active community engagement and participation, but how would you say that individuals can effectively strike a proper balance between, leveraging community for career growth and also like just maintaining professional boundaries or avoiding networking fatigue?
Okay, that's a really interesting question. Networking fatigue, I think that's a concept I'm just hearing about, to be honest, because I'm
Mhm.
someone who loves to network as well. So by networking fatigue, you might mean um, being wary of, not getting the right support you need even when you are reaching out. And how
Yeah,
can you
exactly.
basically create that balance? I think it's very important to kind of go back to what I said in the first place. So, for example, you might see a situation where people would say, the senior persons within this community are not responding. Now they are not giving the right support. They're not actually doing this. They're not doing that. Now, it's very important to understand that for these persons, it's really, 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 really tasking for them, because the more you grow in your career, the more responsibility you have, right? And it means the less time you have most times to engage in community, and you have to prioritize, because then with community, you have several persons reaching out to you because you have a particular profile, right? And so it's really important to understand that they do actually give the right response to persons, but specifically, there's this bias to actually reach out or respond favorably to those who have done the work. So that's the foundation. You have to do the work. So a basic chat to tell me you are interested, for example, in product management, AI product management, because I'm an AI product person. A basic chat about that wouldn't get me to actually jump into mentoring you full time. The reason being is that you will be having 15 to 20 of those inquiries. And basically, if you respond to all 15 to 20, you have committed to all 15 to 20. So I want to commit to you in the long run, or I need to see that you are actually doing the work. And then I block time on my calendar. I take out time, irrespective of how full my calendar is, to actually help you get to where you want to be, because you have shown that, number one, you took the initiative, you have done the background work, and then you need help with navigating the difficult aspects. So there's a difference between mentorship for hand-holding, for learning, and expecting someone to actually teach you every single thing when we have lots of resources on the community, when we have the internet. So networking fatigue might usually come from that scenario where you basically are expecting these persons who are also limited on time to show you the basics. So the first thing to do is learn the basics. The next thing to do is try to apply it and show the outcome, even if you failed at doing so. So I tried to design a website, I failed. And the developer would be the senior developer, the senior engineer would be very, very happy to actually jump in and show you what's wrong with your code. It's different from you saying, I want to become a full stack developer and I need to learn all these languages. So that's the difference. That's one thing. The next thing when it comes to creating a balance is having a pitch. Having a pitch is basically saying, beyond just a message, I want to actually structure my message to show why they should help me. Why should I help you? Now, this is really important, because in everything you are doing, they are going to prioritize you to support you amongst the 10 persons actually pitching them for mentorship, among the 15 persons, right? So you want to actually stand out as well to say, hey, for example, senior, this, I see that you are within this space. Show that you are also interested in what they are doing as well. Show that you are also on the same path with them. So I see that, for example, you are a senior engineer at Netflix. I'm interested in building, streaming solutions. I've used the specific technology that is used to build streaming technology. Talk about the technology they use currently. Then they understand that, yes, you are someone who have done your homework, and then you want to apply that knowledge to your own self, but you're having difficulties and they're willing to actually support you. So structure your pitch in a way that you show them that you understand the work they do, and you also want to gain more expertise in that space. And then they are the right person to actually help you, because then most times, without a doubt, they will be curious. I'm sure that there are so many people out there to teach you what makes me the right person to actually jump on a call with you and show you what you need to learn. You need to show them that I understand what you do, and I'm also trying to do the same, and I'm having a little bit of issue. So don't just be generic, be specific. For every person, have a unique pitch, and this is going to help you actually get the right response you need. And of course, you wouldn't have to then try to network and every single time because you're not getting the right support you need. Because with these steps, you basically get the right response, you basically get the right support for yourself as a professional. I don't know, does this answer the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Gospa. We have a very interesting question from the chat. Felicia is asking, how can one leave from dormant to active, and also like from passive to active? So this is like when you talked about different categories of community members. So how can one transcend from being dormant to becoming a full-fledged active community member?
Okay, so yeah, most times with dormant partners, the dormant community members, it makes a lot of sense that the person would say, I'm introvert. I'm an introvert. I'm a little bit shy to actually put myself out there, right? And that's usually the case with most persons who are dormant. The first thing is basically realizing that coming out is not going to hurt you. That's the first thing. Coming out in regards to trying to make yourself visible through the first step of an introduction. Now, that's the first thing. Your introduction can show who you are, what you are looking to achieve, and what you need to get there. And if you have such introductions, it's always easier to actually get the right person who is interested in mentoring others reach out to you as well. So you can actually reverse engineer it. Reverse your whole introduction to show what you need, what you are struggling with, and your desire to actually get someone to support you. That's the first stage, because then once you get someone reach out to you in most cases, or even if no one reached out to you, you still understand that you have been able to just put something out there, which is the first step to actually getting active, just an introduction. And the next thing is also understanding that coming from, I would say, a profile of being dormant, you don't need to be active alone. You don't need to do it all alone. So you want to actually reach out to persons individually and say, hey, I'm struggling with this. I don't know if you have the same issues as me, but I'm looking to actually create something for us where we can get the relevant attention from someone specific to say, okay, we have a group and we need to learn this. Is there a way you can actually show this to us? Now, this is a lot more better when you go out as a team. And so within the community, it's also really important to kind of make friends. That's the bottom line, right? Make friends. Now, by making friends, you're not coming from a professional perspective, but you're also having personal introductions here with people who are within the same space as you. So I want to be, for example, a junior front-end developer. I want to look for people who are looking to be aspiring junior front-end developers as well and introduce themselves. You want to introduce yourself and say, okay, I'm learning this at this moment, and I see that you're an aspiring, front-end developer. What are you learning at the moment? That basically is a conversational starter. And then you move that from making friends or just an introduction to having accountability partners. You want to ask someone, hey, we are in the same space, we have the same objectives. Can we become accountability partners? And you want to reach out to someone to say, hey, can we work on this together? Can we work on, for example, even mini projects together as well? And this is really important because then you're not doing it all alone. You are working as a team with someone. You are actually identifying a problem. You are trying to come up with an idea around how to solve those problems. And then without even knowing it, unconsciously, you are putting yourself out there because then you come up with a solution. It makes a lot of sense. I was able to work on a calculator, for instance. I want to share that. Now, I don't just want to keep it, on the low and say, okay, that's it, right? I want to say, hey, celebrate your wins as well, no matter how small they are. It's another avenue. I've been able to take a course on, for example, Python, or I've been able to take a course on JavaScript, and I've completed this course, right? I want to share that I've completed this course on the community as well, as a way to break that barrier, as a way to become active as well. Hey, I just completed a course on this. And you see people telling you, congratulations, what's next? Here's something I would recommend to you. And that's because that's how community is built. And so if you don't share the small wins as well, you're building that small calculator, that small application, no one would actually see you. But then sharing those as a small win is actually a way to actually get those visibility and get the right people looking in your direction as well. And it starts from just a simple introduction, starts from just making that friend, connecting with someone who can become your accountability partner, and then sharing what you're up to with everyone. And that's the best way to do it, because most times people think about the whole stuff as becoming influencers, but that's not what you don't need that. You basically need to show your journey, share your own story, own your story, and not a different story entirely. Show your journey of how you evolve, right, as a professional. And this is going to help you come out, become active gradually, because then you'll be able to say, hey, I just read an article on this. Hey, I just solved this problem, and here's the outcome. And then people start seeing that, people start giving you suggestions, helping you improve. Yeah, and that's the way I would suggest anyone goes through actually becoming active from dormant. Yeah, over to you, Joy.
Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Gaspar. Yes, that answered the question. And Felicia, I hope you were able to pick out some nuggets from what he said. And as a final question to close us out for today, currently we have the three MTT learning communities across the 36 states in Nigeria and the FCT. But beyond that, as budding techies, as early career professionals, as a professional in this field, Mr. Gaspar, are there some additional communities that you think might be, instrumental to our growth that you could possibly recommend? And what's one final piece of advice that you'd like to leave with our fellows and everyone listening today?
All right. Yeah. So in terms of communities, there are so many communities out there, to be honest. There's so many, I can't have all of them at the top of my head, but I can always share the resource later on for everyone. For example, from a technical perspective, you have Dev Careers. Dev Careers is an amazing community I would actually put out there as well, because then you have lots of developers on there who are focused on scaling, improving as developers, as technical persons. It's not just for developers alone. You have data focused persons on there as well, and other career professionals on there. So that's a really great community. They have a Slack channel as well. So I usually leverage Slack as a way to connect with lots of communities as well. You also have the open source community as well, for Africa as well. So open source, the OSCAR, which is the OSCA, the Open Source Community Africa as well, is one really amazing community you can check out. I always talk about open source. You should be checking out that community, because then you get the opportunity to contribute. You get the opportunity to network during the events, the conferences, where you get to meet other professionals who are interested in open source, irrespective of the fields they are in. You can contribute to open source as a marketing person, as a designer, as a developer. It's not restricted to just developers only. So irrespective of where you are, which field you are, you can always contribute to open source. There are some other really amazing communities as well. You have She Code Africa as well, which is an amazing community for women in tech. You should want to check that community out, because then lots of value is there. You want to connect with such communities as well. You have for products, for example, you have People in Product. People in Product is a product manager focused, or product people focused community. Product designers, product managers from all of Africa. In People in Product, you have marketers in tech as well. You have non-tech in tech for non-technical persons. Also, that's really amazing, because then you connect with so many persons irrespective of their field, from marketing, from design, from Think about it, name it. They're basically on non-tech, tech and tech, because that's a non-tech focused community as well. From an open source community, I think I just think about Oscar mostly, but we still have other communities out there specifically for opportunities, job opportunities, specifically when it comes to remote work. You have, really amazing communities out there. And I think I can pinpoint three within Africa that are doing a really amazing job when it comes to, opportunities for Africans to work remotely on the global stage. You have Inclusively Remote, you have AfriSplash Remotely, which I'm the founder of. We also have Remote in Africa. I think these are really amazing communities for people who are interested in, using their skills on the global stage for global opportunities as well. So you want to look into those communities, Inclusively Remotely, AfriSplash Remotely, and then Remote in Africa as well. These are the communities I actually think about. In regards to the final word to everyone who's listening, I think one thing I would say is something I've always said, which is basically career growth and development is a journey. It doesn't just happen out of nowhere. And you need to learn to enjoy the process. You need to learn to trust the process. And by the process, I mean, there are going to be ups, there are going to be downs. It's just the reality of life in general, the way we have good and bad, definitely. The good thing about your journey is that it can be a lot more better when you have community with you, when you have the right mentorship with you, when you have the right guidance with you. Your career becomes a lot more better, it becomes smoother, because then you learn from people who have taken, the paths you intend to take, and then you avoid those mistakes you would naturally make if you're working in isolation, right? So think about career growth and development as a journey. Own your journey. When it comes to creating value, create value from your journey. Don't, try to, project what you aren't when it regards to growing, because then someone is always watching, right? And at the end of the day, what matters is your technical intensity. What matters is your ability to actually solve problems, and not your ability to write amazing content or get 15,000 followers. That doesn't matter within the tech space. So it's really important to think about career journey as, I want to have a technical intensity of someone who is able to walk into the room and speak about any topic without having a care in the world about if I'm prepared or not, because then you can wake up from your sleep and actually speak about that topic. And that involves learning about it, getting to that point where you can call yourself an expert because you have actually learned and solved problem within that space. So that's the only way to growth. Do not avoid, I would say, the difficult problems, because that's what actually gets you grow. So try as much as possible to put yourself in difficult situations where you have to solve difficult problems, and that's going to help you learn even more. That's going to help you grow. And remember that you can do this effectively because you have support from mentors. So don't always go for the easy way out. Most times it's going to be difficult, but at the end of the day, it's worth it. So yeah, in a nutshell, these are the things I would say, and I think these are the final words I would leave to everyone who's listening. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to this talk about leveraging community for career growth and development. Over to you, Joy.
Thank you. Hello. Am I audible now?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you. There's still a little bit of pause from your end as well. So I still think it's the network.
I'm so sorry. Thank you. Is it any better now?
Yeah, it comes on. I can hear you now.
Better?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay. So sorry about that. I don't know what's wrong with my network today, but um yes, I was just saying thank you so much for sharing all of the nuggets so far today. We've been on the conversation of leveraging community for career growth and development. And to everyone listening, I hope you've gotten a thing or two. We hope you've learned more about how to become active community members in your community, your 3MTT learning communities across Nigeria, and in whatever community you might be a member of. Like Mr. Gospower had said, trust and enjoy the process, and ensure that you're active in your communities, because that's the only way you're going to be able to fully reap the benefits. Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Gospower, for being with us today, for taking out time out of your very busy schedule to be with us. So to our audience, feel free to leave a kind word for our speaker. Feel free to also drop a thing or two that you've learned from today's webinar. And until next time, we'll see you in the next one. That brings us to the end of today's session. Thank you so much, everyone, and I hope you have a lovely day ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.